Hey, what's going on, guys? Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone is enjoying their day. Depending on where you're watching in the world, whether it's a morning, evening, afternoon, I hope this content finds you blessed. And as always, I thank you for tuning in to the Breaking Bears Ministries channel. For those who's new, welcome. As always, I'm grateful to be before you guys to put out content that hopefully can bless your life. And for those who's been tuning in to our videos, to our channel, thank you, and continue to please share. Go ahead and hit the like button. So hopefully this can spread around so people can get something out of this video. So I'm just jumping here real quick. I have a lot to put out, a lot of things I want to talk about. I'm just going to talk freely. And I know people have been watching various news channels and social media on this particular topic I'm going to talk about. And I felt compelled to jump on here because this is not only something that I invested time in regard to godly marriage, but this is something that I personally experienced and I'm personally invested in. And I just want to share some things and just kind of really highlight and put a light on this topic when it comes to marriage. Because, when we think about celebrity relationships and marriages, when we think about the influence that these celebrities bring to people's lives, and a lot of people that follow these people, and they may, get to the point where they take ideals and concepts from them and apply it to their lives, it can be detrimental and can be damaging to marriage. So I just want to jump in a few things. I know people have been listening to the Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith fiasco in the social media and the news. And so it was some things that I've been digging in this topic for the last week or two. And really just digging in. I know if you've been following the stories and the background of what their marriage and how they present themselves, more information, has came out in regards to her exposing her husband to the media, to the public, in reference to separation and in reference to some of the outside aspects of marriage and just demolishing and defaming his character in the media. And it was just a couple of points I want to make. And really just take a stance for godly marriage and why that marriage is the enemy is really trying to tear down and defame and make marriage unappealing to men and women in general, but just really make marriage look bad in regards to longevity, to commitment, to loyalty, and the way it's supposed to be. So one of the things that was highlighted, it was a podcast from Stephen A. Smith. He is a ESPN anchor, sports anchor. Many may know who he is. Maybe some may do, some may not. But he made a podcast, 3. And he was talking about some of these different topics in regards to Jada Pinkett Smith's comments and the stuff that she said. And when we think about the institution of marriage, and one of the things he mentioned throughout his podcast about this topic is from his personal standpoint that he doesn't want to, or at this time, or even consider marriage. Because we think about marriage in the aspect of when you go through a divorce. In Western culture and Western society, or even the way the laws are set up for marriage, when someone marries and the relationship moves into divorce, 9 times out of 10, the person whether the woman started or whether the man started the divorce, that woman would take either majority of what he owes, what he earned, what he earned throughout his time. So when we think about that, and when he mentioned that in his podcast, things come up in my head in regards to the mindset of how the stance of men in regards to marriage and why that they choose not to marry. Because the system is designed to take away the earnings because that marriage did not work out, or that person cheated on their spouse, or unreconcilable differences, and therefore that marriage ended. So as I listened to different commentaries from Red Pill, and if you don't know what Red Pill is, I did a video on it on my other channel. but basically these are channels by men that discourage wholesome relationships with women. They tell men to worry about themselves and treat women as if they're objects or property, right? So when we listen to these type of content, it if you're not careful, it can, and I said this before, that it can make you turn into where you anti-marriage, anti-relationship with women. You're just concerned about the physical, sexual aspect of marriage. I'm sorry, not marriage, but just for a woman's standpoint. So when you see these relationships in the public, such as Will and Jada's marriage, you after listening and diving into that, you know what I'm saying, you will start to kind of like look at marriage as, is this something I want to do? And it's not just her and them in particular, but there's other relationships where men and women have, you know, in the public, you see divorce, you see, you hear in the news media that this person divorced and they're taking $60 million for child support, or $20,000 in child support, or a whole context of the divorce. So when he's back to what he was saying, one of the things that I think about when he said the context of relationship, him staying in the marriage, him taking in and being, and, you know, he goes from the those who don't know, the relationship where she slept with an artist named August Alsina, and he slept with him, and this is 2000, and it's either 15 or 19, not exactly sure. And then it goes into the embarrassment, and then it goes into the Oscars that was last year in 2022, and he slapped Chris Rock, and a famous comedian, during the Oscars. And then now this is coming out again. So a man that takes the defamation of his character and loses his stature and his status in the Hollywood aspect, such as Will Smith, you think about what is going on in his marriage. One of the things that I want to first point is, when you're dealing with a marriage, and I stand by this, and I know people may have different opinions and different views, but I don't believe in staying in a marriage for one, finance, and two, for children. And when you have a marriage or a relationship that is toxic to the point that your peace and your joy and your sanity is compromised on a daily basis, on a consistent basis. And such as this, in this case where Will Smith, and we can say that they're doing this for money, or this is a skit or an act or a setup, or if he's choosing, we can glorify, or we can concentrate rather on the aspect of celebrity relationships. But I take this as, this is a lesson, right? We can say we want to say about celebrities and their context, but this is a lesson. This is in the media, and this is something that we're seeing on our news feeds, consistent basis in media, and you're hearing about it, and you're hearing it on the radio stations, and you're seeing it on MSN and all these different sites. This is a lesson. A man has to understand, right? And a woman too, that the context of marriage is not for drama, it's not for fame, it's not for money, it's not for convenience and benefits, it's not for children alone. When we go back to the essence of godly marriage, or a marriage that's established by God, it is a foundational understanding that is purpose. That the relationship of God in the man and the woman's life, the strong foundational personal relationship with God is primary, and then understanding, this might have been said multiple times, but God would develop and cultivate two people and design them to fit for purpose. When we understand that context first, then we can understand that marriage, at that point, God will bring those people together for purpose. But if you're in a relationship, if you have this understanding to be in a relationship because it's for benefits and convenience, or because I'm scared to leave, because the system, the government system, and the laws that are made in this country or other Western countries are designed that when you divorce and you don't have proper paperwork in place, and even that, even prenuptials are challenged. That at any time when a divorce happens, whether it's a cheating, whether it's just irreconcilable differences, or I just don't want to be with that person no more, understanding that the government, the judge, the courts, family court will come in and always side with what the woman says for the most part, and the man loses everything. And again, I don't. And people may think I'm being biased. It's always about the man. It's always talking about the men. People think it's misogyny and all these other things. But this is what's happening. This is what's happening. So, one of the things that are brought up is the phrase, "It's a cheaper to keep her." This is something that was brought up constantly in these podcasts as I kept listening and trying to deduce and understand what's going on. One of the things, the comments is, "It's cheaper to keep her." And a lot of men, you know what I'm saying, we can sit back and analyze and sit back and see, okay, should I stay in this? Should I continue to work through the marriage? Should I continue to put up with the dishonor and the disrespect? Or, cut my losses financially, cut my losses in regards to whatever you're losing, and make that, carry out the proper paperwork and divorce and go forward and move on with my life and have that peace. I personally, again, outside of, the biblical aspect of marriage, me personally, I don't believe in staying in something to the point where my sanity and my mindset and my personhood is damaged to the point that I'm being disrespected on a consistent basis. I'm being taken advantage of. I'm being treated some type of way, and I'm put in position to where I will act or carry out a certain behavior or put myself in a sense of being in trouble. Staying in something for children. And this is why we go back to the foundation of marriage and understand this is something I've learned. In the marriage I'm currently in, that foundation was set. Because understanding that now, right? When we get into relationships and marriages and there's children involved, and like I said, those characteristics of toxicity are met. To stay in any type of relationship, for kids and its consistent toxicity, the kids are going to be damaged. So I again don't believe to stay. I will leave the relationship, and there's consequences to that, and those consequences can be damaging to the children, to the parents. But for Will's sake, using this as an example, he chose to stay in that marriage. He chose to be in that marriage as long as 20 to 30 years, 23, 24 years, I'm sorry. And he had kids and he chose to stay. But look what the results are. Look how the kids are, how they turned out to be. Because he chose to stay in that marriage instead of making a decision to say, you know what, this is not going to work for me. I tried counseling. I tried to talk to her. We tried to work through it. We tried, and it's to the point where it's damaging me and damaging my children. And this goes for women too. Peace, right? Understanding that peace. Understanding that I have to have some sense of stability in my life and not to stay in something. I know a lot of people may get this mixed up and say that, we can, and I'm just going to jump on the tangent here. From a biblical perspective, the word of God is solid. It's a foundational, solid thing. And I believe in the word 110%. But I think some people may, and this is a breaking barriers, and this is why this ministry was made, this channel was made, because we're going to have to debunk and break some stuff down. So a lot of people say, we go to church and we pray and say, we try to take the the relationship and the marriage to counseling, and you know, people say no divorce, and they use biblical principles to try to justify and stand in something like that. Understand that two people have to want to work through the relationship and the marriage. This is why we, instead of trying to ask God to fix stuff and put stuff in perspective and help redeem a relationship or a marriage, the whole point is to do it right from the beginning. But if you're in the marriage and you are, you know, have a dedication and loyalty to fix it, and both parties, man and woman, choose to go to counseling, choose to repent of what was done wrong, choose to work through the marriage and try to fix what's happening in the marriage, then the marriage can possibly be redeemed. You can pray all you want to. You can go to the pastor all you want to. You can go to the church all you want to. You can do whatever you can to try to fix the marriage. But if the other person, whether it's man or woman, does not choose to fix the issues, no matter what you do, if they, just like the Bible, if just like with God, he had the Judah and Israel, and both in the Old Testament, they chose not to repent and turn from the false gods and turn from their wicked ways. So what did God have to do for a season? He had to say, you know what, I'm gonna put you to the side. So if a person, whether it's husband or wife, if one does not want to fix the issues, and they verbally, by telling you or through behavior, is telling you that I'm not fixing my issues, God can't move on a person's heart if they are outside their free will. So the other person, yes, you can pray, and yes, you can hope that God can change their hearts, and it's not saying that it's impossible. I'm not saying that God can't move on that other person's heart or send a laborer to get them saved, or to sanctify them through the examples that you're setting. But there is some relationships and marriages that you can't fix. And also there are marriages that the devil did design. Satan has, just like God put people together, the devil, Satan, also orchestrates and put people together. And if you are, you know, in a marriage or relationship where you start off unsaved, and then you become a believer, and that other person don't choose to be a believer, and they still live in the world, they still choose to follow the enemy and do the things that he, in regards to Satan, then guess what? Do you stay in that marriage? So people don't think about that Satan he imitates what God does. So he's going to also set up marriages. He has people in line to marry or even sin. It could be believers. And the believers are out of order, and they're not understanding, and they live in sin, or they fall backslide, and they get into a relationship or a marriage with an unbeliever. Satan put them people together. And guess what? You can be a believer and still be unequally yoked or out of sync. So this is why, again, you have to start from the foundation. You have to start from the foundation. And don't look to the celebrities. Don't look to the people that you see on social media. Don't look at all these worldly examples. Let the Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith marriage example. They have been married for 23, 24 years. Raised children. And now look at their relationship. There's no honor. There's no respect. There's no fruit. I mean, as far as godly fruit. And it's so much commentary on it. So many people talking about it. And now the culture is what it is. It's an enemy's agenda to damage the marriage culture. It's causing men to say, you know what, I don't want to marry. It's causing an awareness to where if I see a woman, I rather avoid the woman and focus on myself. I rather find alternatives than focus on the marriage. And that's not the way marriage is supposed to be. That's not the way God does it. That's not the way that God orchestrated. That's not the definition. Now, people that choose not to marry, it's not a sin if you don't marry, because Paul didn't marry. But what we got to understand too, when people choose to not marry, actually be committed to a woman, you got to be able to understand too that you can't go and sleep with different women, or women sleeping with different men. Because a lot of people don't choose to actually marry legally in the way it's supposed to be done, but they'll go and have these relationships, sexual relationships with women, and women have sexual relationships with men. If you're not going to actually marry, then you need to be single and celibate and living your life for the Lord. That's the correct way. But a lot of the times with secular culture, I don't want to marry that woman, but I'll have sex with her. And that's wrong too, because that's creating illegitimate bonds and soul ties and children and all this other stuff as well. But when we look at marriage and you see people divorcing publicly, celebrities, personal relationships, you see it consistently on a constant basis. Men and women too. I keep saying men, but this is more for the men, but women too. They can say, you know what, I don't want to deal with marriage. Because marriage has been, I don't want to put, as a man, I don't want to marry a woman and it don't work out, and then she takes everything I got. Because the family court system is designed to take everything from that man. And in some cases where women that make a lot of money, they also get stuff snatched from them. You lose a lot when you're dealing with marriage and you're dealing with the courts. Because they're going to look at the financial aspect. And I'm going to do a separate video talking about all of this on my other channel. I'm going to do a whole separate video on this. And I'm going to really lay it from personal experience. I'm going to lay it all out. But that's some of the stuff I've seen so far with the Jada Pinkett, Will Smith marriage fiasco. Now I'm calling it a fiasco. Another point I want to mention is understanding the idea of separation. Jada Pinkett's mother, it was a podcast, a quick little podcast, little snippet of a TikTok video I saw where Jada Pinkett's mother was speaking on behalf of Jada. And apparently Will too, but Jada more so. And she said that separation, they were separated for 7 years. Apparently to Jada Pinkett, she said they were separated. Where they didn't sleep in the same bed, they lived in different separate homes. And they continued to stay married on paper, legally married, but they would sleep in separate homes, meaning that they can have their separate relationships, they can sleep whatever they want to sleep with, they can engage in other relationships and side relationships, but they're still married. So with that, her mother said it wasn't adultery, her sleeping with the artist, whatever the case may be, the adultery, and that's not adultery because they were separated. So a debunking theory, breaking barriers moment, is just because you're separated does not mean that your marriage, your marital commitment, your marriage legally unto God and by the state or the government is not in void. You're still legally married to that person. You still have to finish certain things. You still have to end the relationships you're in. So when she said that, what a lot of people think is, I'm separated so I can go sleep with this person. And then when that person calls you out on it, or that, just like Will did to her, oh, that's okay because we're separated. People think separation means that I can do what I want to do. I'm not obligated to that marriage no more. That I can go sleep with this person. I can go deal with this person. So the debunking theory is just because you're separated. You can be separated. I know people that's married and they've been separated for 30 years. They've been separate. They've been living separate lives. They've been going on to sleep with other people. They go be in these partnerships and these domestic partnerships. And they're still technically married to that person. And it's been 30, 40 years later and they're still married technically, legally, but they have a domestic partnership with someone else. And that is totally acceptable in this society. That's acceptable to go and be separated instead of just saying, you know what, let's cut it off. Let's make this divorce happen, be completely done, and therefore you can go your way and I can go my way. But people think it's okay to still go and create separate relationships in the marriage. So that's a debunking theory. And I know that's something that people think, that's okay, and that's cool, and this and a lot of people, maybe it's transactional in nature, where we gonna stay married, but I'm gonna go be with her or go be with him, but we still married because I get the insurance, I'll get the life insurance, I'll get the extra money on the side, I'll get the health benefits, I'll get this, I'll get that. It's business, it's transactional. For example, for Will Smith and Jada Smith, right? Will's $350 million man. Movies, businesses, assets, all types of endorsements. Who knows? Companies, the LLCs. Who knows what Will has? So I'm gonna be separated because it's too toxic. But if I divorce, Will's mind saying I may need to stay with her because I may lose half or even more of my earnings and my assets that I had over the years. She takes it all. Not only does she get to defame my character publicly, cheat and sleep with different men, but also when you divorce, I'm pushing you, Jezebel, pushing you all the way out the door, so then you can divorce and I'll take everything from you. So in that case, Will's thinking maybe, I don't know for sure, I don't know, maybe that I'm going to stay in this marriage because I can keep, you can defame me, you can talk about me, you can make me look like a simp, whatever you want to call it, but now I can stay in the marriage and keep my money. Maybe that could be COA 1 or course of action number 1. Another interesting concept for Stephen Smith in his podcast, he said, Will must have done something. He must have had to commit such an atrocious act, or an act that is so humiliating or shameful to him that Jada knows about or caught him in the act about, that maybe he just said, I'm gonna let her just ride on me, talk about me, do whatever, defame me, say whatever they want to say. But as long as she don't say that secret. So we don't really know why Will's just continue to take this stuff. Why does he allow her to say stuff, and why does he embarrass himself, be dishonored in public, his kids, his wife? You know what I'm saying? Why does he continue to stay in that? Because it could be any possibility. But all I'm saying is, marriage is sacred. Marriage is sacred. If we continue to allow this type of behavior in these relationships, if we continue to idolize or entertain the selfish notion that marriage is about what I want, if we don't learn to stop getting into carnal mindsets towards marriage, if we don't understand that marriage is an institution and a concept developed by God, that we can't just look at other people's relationships and think that's the way to go, or we get into something with the expectation that I'm gonna get what I want. That marriage is a servitude. You have to serve. You have to understand that it's not about you. And even with that, we have to both have an understanding, husband and wife, to understand that it is a balance. Because a lot of people will say that it's not about you, it's about the other person, or it's about this, or it's about that. And it can be manipulated to think that, oh, it's not about you, but I get to just deplete what you are. And that, what if that person keeps that concept, it's not about you, and they serve you, and they serve you, and they serve you, and they serve you, but the other person just takes from you, and just takes from you, and it's not reciprocated and brought back to the person. So there is a balance with that mindset that is not about you. With marriage, there is an aspect of servitude, but it's also an aspect of reciprocation too. You have to give back to that person just as much as they give to you. And understand that when there are issues in the marriage, when there are complications, because the marriage, especially the godly marriage, is going to be tested by the enemy. The enemy doesn't want to see that. Because, like I said before, and I might have said this in other videos, if we have a strong marriage, you have a strong home because you have children. You have a strong home, you have a strong community. strong schools, strong churches, communities are strong. Then we start to see cities. Then we start to see states, and we start to see regions, and then we see nations, and then we see a global impact from godly marriage. So this is why the enemy constantly attacks the concept of marriage, because he doesn't want to see strong homes. He wants to see toxicity. He wants to see adultery. He wants to see cheating and abuse. Children messed up. Man leaves. Court system gets the man and snatches everything from the man. And what it does, it causes the man to turn what I call, quote unquote, red pill. And again, red pill is a definition where men despises marriage, despises relationships, despises loyalty, and treats women only for sexual use only. And then what that does is destroy the woman, because now the woman is looking for, they're single, they can't be fruitful and multiply, right? They have a perspective that men are just using them for sex, and then they don't want to get married, or they don't want to deal, or they go after a man with the sole intent for transactional relationships and marriages, meaning that I want a man that's going to take care of me, take me out, give me money for hair and nails, do this, do that, take me on trips. Then the whole concept of marriage is warped, and therefore we have a destruction in our society. If this continues, marriage, the concept of marriage will be perverted, it will be twisted, and it will always be, you'll see this on a consistent basis. You'll see divorce, you'll see broken homes, you'll see, that's what the enemy wants. That's what the whole concept is, the agenda is for the enemy to twist the marriage out to the point where you're going to see all this perversion and broken homes and molestation and all these different blended family issues and having all this stuff going on, because we're not understanding that marriage starts from God. And in order to have godly marriages, two people have to be in tune with the Lord. The relationship with God is primary. If it's primary, then the marriage will be successful, because now when things do go wrong, when things get out of line, you don't go run and turn to the streets. You don't go sleep with that woman. You don't go sleep with that man. You turn to the Lord, and the Lord will give you ways to work things through. You'll have a strong foundation in your church. You'll have a pastor. You'll have people's support. You'll understand your purpose and understand why y'all together. You'll have a foundation and an anchor to understand that when things go wrong, that we understand that we're here because, not just because of our flesh, not because of sex, not because of convenience. We're here because God gave us a purpose to go out and cultivate other marriages, just like Jesus made disciples to go make disciples and make more disciples. But if we don't understand these basic principles, you'll constantly see marriages fail. You'll constantly see men shying away from marriage. I heard a man specifically say, when I rather deal with a woman, rather not deal with a woman because it's just physical looks. I'd rather just not deal with her because my peace and my sanity is more important. You're going to see a lot of men shy away from marriage, shy away from dealing with certain type of women, because the woman is so toxic, and so, as the Bible says it, a quarrelsome woman is like a constant drip. A argumentative woman, I'm paraphrasing, that they'll rather live on the rooftop because they don't want to deal with that. They don't want to deal with no woman that's nagging and doing all this cheating and lying and stealing. And then now you see a woman defaming your husband, the one that you committed to, on global television. The whole world would know about Will Smith for the rest of his time living. He would never, ever live this down, because a woman is tearing him down consistently. Whether if it's a what's the word I'm looking for? Whether they conspired and said, yes, do this, or whether she's doing this on her own, for her own accord. When you see Will Smith, you will always see this man as a man that allowed a woman to destroy him. The Bible says, do not deal with women like that, because they will destroy kings. In Will Smith's case, he is a man that's successful. He's talented, and money, fame, success, good looks, none of that stuff matters now to him, because he had all of that. And a woman tore him down, and now when people see him worldwide, He would never ever live this down. The slap, Chris Rock, he would never live this down. And even after that, after all was said and done, and you can say whether he's right or wrong and indifferent, he still chooses to stay married to her, and she still chooses to support her in her endeavors. Do you think that's biblical, what he's doing? That he's going to still stick by his wife regardless? Regardless of the defamation, regardless of the dishonor, regardless of the disrespect on a massive scale? Is he doing what's right by staying with Jada Pinkett Smith? Is he right in that? A lot of people may say yes. A lot of people may say no. I'm sure the majority would say no. He needs to leave her because she is a this, she is a that. She's a Jezebel. She's some masculine energy and all this other stuff. I'm pointing this out is because I believe it's not right. It goes against the word. And most importantly, it's my job as I'm in the godly marriage is to point this stuff out and expose it for what it is. And hopefully whoever listens to this, whoever takes time to listen to this video, to understand, simply to understand that this is not godly marriage. And if you choose to get married for the right reason, not because, if you're not going to get married, understand that if you're living by the word of God, if you're not marrying, it's because you're dedicating your life and your body to the Lord. I don't want to marry, but I'm sleeping around on the side. That's not biblical. But if I choose to get married, I must understand that I have to do it the Lord's way. I have to have a personal relationship. I have to be in the basic relationship. And I'm saying basic, but just understand being saved, being dedicated to the Lord, being consecrated, living life for Him, and with that desire to marry. Then understand that He, in His timing, has to take and make, and put the person together. That's the only way it works. I am fully convinced that the only way that marriage will work in the correct form is doing it God's way. Not my way, not going in the club, not trying to go look down the street or I see somebody I like as a man. I see the physical features, or a woman seeing a man that he's 6'2" and he dressed real nice, a nice car, and he got a platinum credit card, or he can take me on trips. That's not it. What it is, personal relationship. God takes these two for a purpose. Man has a vision. Woman has a vision. Suitable helpmeet, as it says in Genesis. Bring the two together. Carry out said mission. God gets the glory. Because both of them, whether it's individual or together, people will see and say, they've been together for a long time. And not saying that there wasn't challenges and there wasn't issues. But you will not see your wife disrespecting your husband on social media and the world. You will not see your husband sleeping with this woman, going from house to house to house. You will truly have fruit, godly fruit, bearing from that marriage. And it gives people hope, hopefully, that I too can have that. I too can strive for that. And not saying, no, I don't want that because it's too much work. No, I don't want that because I'm scared that he's going to do this or she's going to do that. I truly hope for that I too can have God's best. And if you don't want it, that's okay. You don't have to want it. Marriage is not a requirement. If you truly say, you know what, that's not for me. I don't want kids. I don't want marriage. I don't want to deal with no man, or I don't want to deal with that woman. That is fine. Because it ain't something you have to do. But for those who truly think about it, is it because I don't want it because I see what's on TV and I see relationships and marriages and I think that's the standard? Do I don't want it because that person hurt me and I haven't sat down and tried to forgive? Or I don't want it because my best friend or this person or somebody I know went through a bad relationship? Am I listening too much red pill content? Am I listening to Me Too content? Have I truly sat down and said, Lord, I do desire this? Because God made us for community. He made us for companionship. That's something that God has instilled in everyone. What happens, the enemy twists it and makes it to the point where, no, I don't want it no more. I had too much hurt and trauma to my life, so I don't want it no more. I'm hurt, so I'm going to go out here and defame my husband or wife. I'm going to cheat on him. I'm going to sleep with this guy. I'm going to do all these hurtful things. And personally, I have to say, I too was in the same situation. I too had the anger and the bitterness. And I got to a point where I said, no, I'm not dealing with a woman no more. But see, God came. I had to get the healing. I had to get before the Lord. He showed me, and he showed me, this is why I can speak and advocate for it, that God can send you a spouse that can exemplify the characteristics that he is. And it can change my whole perspective all the way around. It's changing my whole perspective, that I understand that I did it God's way, and now I can experience the fruit from a godly relationship. That it changed my life to the point where I have hope for marriage, that I had hope for companionship, that I had hope for love, that I had hope for a fruitful marriage. That I can get close to, strive to, because cleaving, when we leave from father and mother, and we cleave to the wife, is a process, is a journey to completion and with another person and unto God. That I'm traveling on the journey, that when I reach my age, when I get to that max completion, that journey's ending between me and my wife, that I've met the final goal, and God's glory is expanded to generations. And that's how God intended to be. And you think about the olden days, you think about the great-grandmothers and the grandmothers that have been together 40, 50, 60 years. Yeah, they had challenges. Yeah, they might have hard times. But at the end of the day, when they get to that completion, that cleaving stage at the end, they can tell their generations, their grandkids and their great-grandkids and their children to say, I have laid out a blueprint that this is how it is. And take that blueprint and apply it to your life, and marry a man or a woman that's godly. And therefore you create children, and you teach them these principles, and you keep God in it, and you pray, and you allow God to move in your marriage. And then the children see it, and then they do it. And then their children's do it. And if you live long enough, your husband and your wife, 40, 50, 60-year marriage, if it's possible, 40 years. When you sit back at the family reunions, when you sit back at the Thanksgivings, when you sit back at the Christmases, and when you sit back and you look back and you're in your 80s and your 90s, and God forbid you're two still alive, you're going to see the fruit. You know what the fruit is? When your kids and your grandkids and even your great-grands, if you live that long, they too can exemplify what you built and what you laid in the blueprint. That's God's best. That's God manifesting in generations. That's how generation blessings come through. That's why you'll see your great-grandkids, your grandkids, your kids. They too can experience the fruit. And when you go be with the Lord, you can have the perfect feeling. You can know without a doubt that you did well. That you laid a blueprint, that you laid something out, that you ain't got to worry about your kids, right? And it's not to say this is a perfect scenario, but you can honestly have an understanding that this is God's best, and now my generations can carry what I laid out on. That's the way to do it. That's how God intended to be. So this is important to me to understand that when you're watching these celebrity marriages and they're falling apart, and if you desire to have that generational blessing, generational blessing, not generational curse, because we all know about generational curses. We all know about all these curses from the grandmother to the children, 3 or 4 generations of curses. We know about that. Let's talk about the generational blessings. Let's talk about building the foundation now and building 3 to 4 generational blessings. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we should strive for. And the only way you're going to do that is understanding the foundation of God in his holy word. Proverbs. Not just Proverbs 31, Proverbs. Genesis, the first 29 chapters. Understanding Abraham and Sarah, understanding Ishmael, understanding the first 2-3 chapters with Adam and Eve, understanding that generational blessing, understanding that when you step outside of the will of God in regards to picking your spouses, when the men don't understand their purpose and vision and they pick women they allow to rule when you're supposed to be in order, when you deal with women, because men we the one that choose the women. When we fall into the court system because we picked the wrong person. We picked the wrong person, so now I have to subject myself to the court system. I have to subject myself to child support. I have to subject myself to alimony and spousal support and all these other concepts because I picked the wrong person. Instead of understanding the principle and understanding the roles and responsibilities. Understanding that when Adam listened to Eve instead of listening to what God told him, that's when the things went downhill. Not to say nothing wrong with Eve, but the concept is that God gave a command and God comes first, and I listen to God. It's not to say Eve, we ain't bashing a woman. I'm not trying to get y'all to see the bashing a woman. What I'm trying to say is that God comes first. God gave a command to Adam to do this. And that command was sustained and carried out, we wouldn't be in a situation. Adam failed to lead, tell his wife Eve to not do this. She got caught up. She started to think for herself, started to think beyond what God told her. And I mean, when I say think for herself, that means she started to go outside what God told her or what her husband told her through God. And therefore it caused problems. Ahab and Jezebel. Ahab wasn't in his rightful place. He didn't lead. He allowed the woman to lead. And the woman deceived him and part of it set his kingdom up for failure. It goes for both sides. The man has to be in position to lead and understand the purpose of the marriage and understand the purpose of his role in regards to leadership. But when you step out and you're not thinking and you're not focused and you're focusing on the carnal, you're focusing on the looks, you're focusing on the transactions and the flesh. I can get this, I can get that, I want this, I want that. Do we get our wants in marriage? Do we get some of those things? Yes. Some things we can get. Marriage is not all about just giving to the point where we can enjoy the marriage. Yes, right? I want the sex. Yes, right? I want to go on trips. Right? I want the Birkin bag. I want the Mercedes Benz if that's what it takes. If that's something that comes with it, the fruit of that comes with it. Yes, it's not saying we can't have those things. It's not saying that we can't travel, because I love to travel. And I love to take my wife and kids to travel. And I have a vision to take all of my family to travel and see the world. It can happen. We're not saying that you can't have these things. But what I am saying, that when you go in the first and last intent to want those things and not think about the purpose, then that's when we have problems. So, wrap this up, because I don't want to rant over the same thing. 2 points. Understanding we don't stay in stuff. Is it cheaper to keep her? I think not, because ultimately at the end of the day, peace comes before everything. And that's something that I've learned, and I've learned not just personally, but from listening to others. Peace. When you can come home to your home and there's peace there. when it's quiet and the woman's coming to open the door, it ain't about the cooking and cleaning on top of it, because that's what man think. I want a woman to cook for me and do this and do that and all these things. It's peace. I don't want to come home and somebody yelling at me and arguing with me all the time. I don't want to come home and you need to do this and you need to do that. I don't want that. That's more important than a woman cooking and cleaning. I mean, yes, that's part of it, but I personally, it's just coming home to a quiet home and being able to have a conversation and being able to enjoy that woman that I'm coming home to. And same thing with the man. Woman coming home, man come home, you don't want to be, where my dinner, where my food, give me this, give me that. Come home and just thank the woman. Say, thank you for taking care of my house. Thank you for doing the little things. Thank you for just it's reciprocal. I thank my Jaquita. I thank my wife. Thank her for cooking. I thank her for making my home. Thank you. It's not about just do this, do this, do this. Honoring the husband. The Bible says respect your husbands. And men, love your husbands, love your wives. Staying and stuff for convenience ain't it. That's convenience. And the second thing is understanding that separation does not include the marriage. If you're not going to be in a marriage, although we can go into biblical things about divorce, and you only can divorce when sexual immorality and all these other type of things. But if it's going to be toxicity and it's going to be damage, and you're going to be going to jail for fighting and domestic violence and abuse and kids hurt and all this other stuff, if you're not going to be in the marriage, don't stand separated. For only reason you should stay separated is if you're going to go away to cool down and get counseling and then come back together. But if you're not going to ever have the intent of coming back together, divorce. If you're not going to work on the marriage, divorce. Don't wait 2, 3, 4, 5 years, 7 years. If it ain't working, if you give yourself a year and 2 years and it ain't working, divorce. Not staying, not going, living other lives and sleeping with this person and creating domestic partnerships and having kids with that person, and you're not married to them, you're still married to another woman, divorce. You separated for the first year, it ain't working, divorce. Whether the man doing it or the woman doing it, it ain't worth it. Cheaper to keep her, it ain't worth it. So that's all I have to say. I might have got a little on my box a little bit, and I'm very passionate about this topic. I really hope that this somehow gives somebody some clarity or some feedback, or give somebody some peace of mind, or just questions answered. I don't know, but I just want to get on here and say this stuff, and hopefully it'll bless you. Jaquita's put out a book, Postpartum Marriage. It's on Amazon. I'm going to attempt to read it. I've been busy working on my own projects and other things, but for so far I heard it's been good. And definitely please support her. She's writing more stuff. Excellent content from what she told me so far. And I think it's going to help a lot of women. Okay? And it's going to help you understand marriage from a different perspective, and some personal experiences that she went through. Just understanding certain viewpoints. Postpartum Marriage, is it a thing? Title of the book is Postpartum Marriage, Is It a Thing? So it's on Amazon. Please support. Please buy the book. It's an ebook. I think it's ebook, so it's not even a book. You can go ahead and read it. Download it to your phones. Download it to your reading tablets, devices, computers. Read it, because it's going to help you. All right. Breaking Bears Ministries is what this is. Precious Pearl Ministries, Jaquita's channel. My channel's Freedom Fighters. Laura's doing some work. The Israel conflicts right now. Please pray for the Israelites and pray for the Palestinians. Pray for the different people over there. Is going through a lot. They lost a lot of loss. Rabbinic Community Trust. Like I said, I got a really big video I'm gonna put out there very soon, probably this week, covering down on a lot of stuff that's going on. Just different events and things. So check it out if you like. Also, her Facebook page, Jaquita's Encourage. That's for the women as well. So if you want to go in there and look on there and support, go for it. Prayer requests, if you have them, please leave them in the comments. Definitely will keep you in prayer. This is a season of prayer because there's so much going on. It's so much that I could say. Not just from a marriage standpoint, but just worldwide, economic, social economic, global conflict, war, military, all types of stuff going on right now. So just please, pray for me, I'll pray for you, and just continue to support the channel. That's all I have. Be blessed, be safe, and I'll see y'all in the next video.